KELA.
How are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're here.
Well, yeah, we're doing it.
It's a beautiful spot as well.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I've happily say it's one of the best graffiti shops I've seen in a long time.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, man.
Means a lot.
Yeah.
Means a lot you coming.
Bro, it was a vibe.
Yeah?
So we had the gig, it was banging.
Last night.
Thanks for bringing me through. Sick.
Yeah. Almost forgot you were a beatboxer. And then I was like, oh, shit, yeah, it's KELA. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible, bro. Honestly.
Thank you. No, it's good. It's good fun. I mean, you know, life is about little lives, isn't it? So, you know, a lot of people, particularly through the podcast, they're young, too young. They won't even remember it having happened. It's KELA, the podcast guy. That's kind of the new mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good to do the beatboxing, though.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, like all good podcasts, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you brought up?
So I was brought up in deepest West Sussex, small village. I mentioned like Barry, the location kind of reminded me of where I grew up. I was in a small village called Billingshurst, which is just outside of Crawley, Horsham, Gatwick area. And it's a population of maybe like 2,000, 3,000. But I was on like, I backed onto like a factory estate, kind of a working class area. We would have like, we would build skate ramps in the car parks and things like that, like really young. I was never really a skateboarder. I was just into the whole scene, and you know, we was like a small unit of kids that would just balloon around there. And I was just super into that kind of, it was, you know, an imaginary idea of street culture being in a small village is, you know, just constantly, you know, reinterpreting what you saw on MTV, but in like the back of a car park.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, what was your school days like? Did you enjoy school or? School
was challenging, really, because I was into the music I was into. I grew up on like punk and metal and glam rock and stuff like that. That was kind of my thing up until I was about 11 years old. And even when I was 7, I was beatboxing. Like, I always remember beatboxing. So it wasn't the music that was a drive for the beatbox until I got into hip hop when I was about 12 or 13. And then I realised that it was a part of the culture. But no one at school was into that at all. You know, at that time, it was really like one-dimensional. And, you know, you go through a lot of stuff when you're into things that other kids aren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My real name's Lee, so immediately was Ice Lee. Ice Lee. You know what I mean? As if that was a thing. But
what, were they kind of like taking a piss, like, because you were into that kind of culture?
No, it became, I guess, you know, like the only gay in the village sort of thing. It was that kind of vibe. It's like, no, he's the hip hop guy.
Yeah.
You know? The beatboxing actually got me in cahoots with the bullies, because at the time, beatboxing wasn't even in the public domain. I would just be doing it to get myself out of being beaten up myself. So, oh yeah, you're all right, you do the beatbox thing. It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kept the wolf at bay.
So when you said you were into like the punk rock and stuff, so like how did you really get into listening to that kind of music? Was it like your parents playing it in the house, or was it just like that was the kind of music where you like kind of grew up?
I think a lot of it was like because my dad was a drummer.
Yeah.
And he used to play drums in his local band. And then he would play music like Free, some Led Zeppelin, The Who, Rolling Stones, things like that. And then my mum was into like more soul stuff, like Barry White, Hot Chocolate, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. Yeah, and some poppier stuff too. I can't remember the name of the band, but yeah. So there was a kind of mix and match of stuff, and I had a friend that used to have MTV, because I couldn't afford MTV where I lived, but she had MTV. She had Sky. This was the new thing. So as soon as I got the opportunity to give her a VHS, I was around there every Saturday. Big up Faye Callaghan. She would record it with me every Saturday, and I'd go home and I'd rinse it the whole week, and I'd see punk stuff and then the hip hop stuff. And then I saw Anthrax Bring the Noise with Public Enemy, and that just changed it all. I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm definitely sold on that.
Yeah.
You know, that whole New York scene. They were able to do that. I mean, they might as well put the nail in a coffin when they did that tune. It's like, you can't do a rock and rap thing anymore.
Nah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a change, the transferal of that. But yeah, those were my influences growing up.
So like when you say you were like beatboxing at like 7 before you'd even been into the hip hop, how come you were just like beatboxing? Was it like just something you just started doing yourself, or had you seen a little something and then thought, yeah, I like that? Or
you know what? I often thought to myself, why don't musicians do that? Why don't singers beatbox? It used to actually quit. It challenged me. I was so young and doing it. Like I'd beatbox the Grange Hill soundtrack as it came on, or EastEnders. I'd be beatboxing. My dad used to drive him mad. He used to hate it. If I had a quid for every time he said, stop doing that, do you know what I mean? Like, but in my mind, I was like, well, how come Tina Turner ain't beatboxing? How come she got this amazing voice? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why isn't it part of the vocal remit?
Yeah.
Being a great singer, you've got to be able to do that as well. That was just my attitude, because for me, it's like I'd always done it. And I don't know where it came from. It was just habitual. Crazy.
So then when you discovered like hip hop and you discovered like beatboxing was part of hip hop, then you thought, right, this is me, like this is what I'm meant to be. And
it wasn't immediate, it was meant to be. What happened was Tim Westwood, Friday night, he had a live, and this was in maybe 92, he had a live recording of the performance, the Cold Chillin' Tour, 1989, one subsequently that Normski was on, and I spoke to him about it later because he did all the filming and photography for it, which is crazy. But I remember hearing it on the radio, and again, I couldn't be any more than 15 or 16. And I heard Biz Marquis do his thing live, and in my mind, I was like, "Wow, I can do that." I've never heard it that loud. I've never heard it done by anybody else. And then when Razel came, about 2 years later, Razel came into play, and he did all the If Your Mother Only Knew stuff. By that time, I'd already advanced in my thinking and trying different things out because of the Biz Marquis thing. And I never heard any beatbox after it because I was still in the sticks.
yeah,
So I was like, what Razel's doing is like a next level. But I can do that. But I don't want to do that. It's like, I can do that, but I want to add my own. So I went away and I started practicing new snares and figuring like, because if he's got that lane, then I don't want to copy what he's doing, because he's opened the door for not only other people doing it, but other ideas. So that's where that, and you know, again, just being young and just trying things out, I'd sit, I had a hi-fi by that time. Like, my dad's hand-me-down hi-fi. Oh yeah. So if he was pissed off with me doing it in the living room, you know, to EastEnders, I was four-wheel drive with the microphone now. I had a mixer and everything. I remember even getting a mixer from some Nazi guy down in Worthing or something. Yeah, I paid like 185 quid. And that was a lot of money for me back, you know, when I was doing paper round. I went into this Nazi guy's house and he just get me out of here. I fucking got this thing. And the next thing plugged in, boom. Crazy. And yeah, I was trying things like I would get the mic and I'd run the top of it across my teeth. I think I chipped a couple of teeth to begin with, stupid shit, just because I wanted to make the noise out of it. And then doing stuff down there, because I heard that had been done before. And then I was doing things like inward snares, which I know no one had done before, because everyone's going out. So I was going to try in, and I was trying snares in my nose, like getting the sounds in my nose, and realizing that if you break down the science of beatboxing, you can only do 3 sounds at once. You can't do any more than 3. There's the voice, there's the mouth, there's the lips.
it sounds like you're doing more than 3, though, don't it? A lot of the time.
But that's the magic trick.
Yeah.
That's your magic. But yes, you can't do any more than 3. So and that was me just logically putting together a kind of a blueprint of what the more you know up front, the more you're able to go and present it.
Yeah.
And having a study on what's new to what's old. Because I was still rapping at that time. and I just started going up to London, 16, 17. And that's where I started forging like friendships in record stores and stuff. And the rapping was passé, you know, everyone's a rapper, but no one was a beatboxer. So as soon as I started doing it, I realised, actually, you know what, I'm going to definitely just stick doing this now.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Because when you're like looking back and thinking, okay, Razal's come up with this, and I want to make sure that I'm staying in my own lane, you must have been consciously thinking, I'm going to take this to a next level. I'm going to be a beatboxer and forward myself as an artist, as a beatboxer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. What happens is you, I was a really redundant student. I was so bad at like keeping my attention at school, and I kind of ended up dropping out anyway because I was just going to London all the time. And Arrow said to me on podcasts, he's like, because he's known me for ages. I used to go to Brighton to the gigs, and he turns around and says, "Lee, you do know there's a builder's job waiting for you in 1993. That's all I ever think about. I'm like, I'm going for this. Like, so if it's not the rapping, then fine, I'll do the beatboxing.
Yeah.
You know, it's by all means necessary, isn't it? And I think that's what makes the best artists. You know, if you really are about it and your back's against, you know.
Yeah, you've got to do it.
Yeah, got to do it.
So, when we like your first like kind of gigs kind of thing, when did you start like being booked as an artist then, and how did all that come about?
That was slow to begin with because there wasn't the beatbox sensation, the thing that kind of blew out the water. So as mentioned, I'd bump into Arrow. I would have been about 17, turning 18, squeezing my way into clubs. First it was Concord 2, events like Knowledge of Self, down Madeira Drive in Brighton. I used to go and see Company Flow and OC, Big L, Scratch Perverts, Second to None. There's loads of dons in the building. That's incredible. But, you know, still not doing the gigs just yet. Then I went to London more. I would go to Scratch and Deck Effects, the O-Bar. Where else? I used to go to Movement as well, at Bar Rumba. That was good. Getting into drum and bass a bit. Blue Note? The Metalheads night. And yes, again, it was more beatboxing in shops because I barely just got over the lip of being overage to go in. But then when I would go to Reading, that's where it got interesting because Reading had like a bit more of an incubation space for people to, you know, be creative and they'd have like workshops and stuff like that. As soon as I turned 18, we were in the Alley Cat, London Road. No, is it London Road? Oxford Road. Alley Cat, Punana, Reading, and I think Maestro and Shorty Blitz were DJing, and the power went down. So I was like, my mates were like, because by that time I kind of created the Crew 360 Physicals, which was my then kind of like go-to tribe.
Yeah.
We were all from outside of London, and we'd just go to all these different places, and we were all just sitting, waiting for the music to come back on. And my mate Lex goes, beatbox. And he grabs the prompt, he goes, he's beatbox, go on stage. And yeah, the mics were working, everything else was out. So I just got on stage and did it. And to the best of my memory, the moment I did that, it was almost like...
Everything else is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Razel came over, did a couple of gigs, and classically, I mean, this is exactly how it happened with punk, you know, Iggy Pop, Ramones. They all come over to England, they do that gig, but the fans want more. They just fly back. What they're doing, they've landed on impact and they've left a crater of like people wanting more.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened. So Razel came over, I'd already made enough buzz within like 2 or 3 shows. And as I said to you in the car, like directly after Reading, there was a guy in that venue called Dan Small who worked for Sleaze Nation magazine, but also Hip Hop Connection. And he saw that and he was like, you've got to come to Club Eiffelbach in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And that was like literally the next week. Wow. But he was also worked in the magazines. So he was able to review me do it. And you see what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
like, it was like immediate knock-on effects. And then obviously Raza had come through and it just opened the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were like massive at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like when you talk about UK hip hop and the kings and the dons, like you're one of them.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, without question, I helped. 2000, and I would say between 2002, 2007, 8, I was number one, untouchable. And I don't care what anyone says, I was untouchable.
Yeah.
I was
No doubt.
skill set, level, just the athleticism, but like any boxer, do you know what I mean? And an organism like the culture of beatboxing, hip hop in general,
Yeah.
you pass the baton on. You know, it's not a selfish, protective.
Me and Cam were talking last night on the way back after watching you. And like, we were like, you know, when you look at hip hop as a whole and UK hip hop as a whole, obviously, well, maybe not, but like one of the not lesser as in like, but the least people trying to be that artist would be the beatbox, right? Mm-hmm. It's always going to be loads of rappers, loads of DJs, loads of breakers, loads of graphers. But the beatboxing is physically not for everyone. Mm-hmm. But then we were like, to have somebody like KELA represent the UK in that art form is like massive. Mm-hmm. I think it's way overlooked. Mm-hmm. Like, I think you're way overlooked. To have you holding like the baton for the UK for beatboxing, it put us in a strong, you know, gives us a strong look all over the world. Like, it's like, yeah, the UK's got it locked.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it does have it locked. It does have it locked, and I think with the UK doesn't give itself, when it comes to hip hop anyway, I think it doesn't give itself enough credit. I don't think the industry gives itself enough credit. I don't know. It's actually hard to, because grime and drill blow that out of the water. And if anything, it's given us a huge opportunity where we, you know, UK hip hop would never have had the opportunities it has like it does now.
I think that's because grime, drill, drum and bass, that belongs to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with the hip hop, it was always the Americans that we were emulating, innit?
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe that kind of element to that kind of thing.
That's right. And I would say, as an artist, with beatboxing, it took years, man, it took ages to shed that was the beatboxer guy. Like, there would be XYZ on the roster or the lineup of a gig, and you'd just be the beatbox guy. You know, you want people to say, I'm KELA. This is KELA. And it took a long time for that to come into motion, you know. And moreover, with beatboxing, there's the human interest aspect. You know, your nan would love it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just like, what's that? You know, you can go to loads of extremes. You can go, you know, people fucking busking doing it, and Britain's Got Talent, but then you have the hardcore heavy stock, the excavators of vocal sounds and almost, you know, top end geekery of what the voice can do.
Yeah.
And that's awesome as well. I'm a happy camper, man. I've travelled the fucking world, like more so places that don't speak English but can understand when something clever's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So yeah, I've got no complaints about where KELA is in 2024.
What kind of names are out there at the moment, like? Who'd you rate at the moment, beatbox wise? Where'd you come into it? Do you still think you're number one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I rate KELA. But I rate KELA because I see where it fits in the, you know, the catalogue of someone's record collection or people's timelines, or where it rightfully fits in the history of street culture. I understand it. So yeah, in terms of relevance and number one, sure.
Yeah, because if somebody asks you, name a beatboxer, if you're from the UK, you're going to say KILA, isn't it?
I think there's a bunch of others. I mean, I wouldn't just say KILA. I'd say Reaps One, 100% Reaps One. I'd say D-Lo. I mean, Beardy Man made an impact, you know, crossing over with comedy and the tech.
Yeah.
Faithless Effects certainly broke ground in the grime world. Who else is out there? I mean, you know, the Beatbox Collective, you know, for the kind of more wholesome side of, you know, collective beatbox awareness. I think they hold a good, strong position. Yeah, there's loads. There's loads for the British side.
Fozzy,
of course. I mean, hold tight well. I mean, honestly, it was good. He's always represented Wales, and to see him last night do his thing, beautiful. Yeah. You know, that's my guy. I remember him like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, that's like, it's a similar thing with Fozzy, with us, as with you, like on the UK. It's like, yeah, we know we got beatboxing locked because we got Fozzy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So good.
Yeah. So what, like, talk about like the mad times, like, you know, you're at your peak. What, like,
times?
What was that like? You know, being like, so what kind of like places did you go to, and kind of people did you rub shoulders with?
Wow. So it's a really broad question. Once that, you know, spark had been, it turned into a flame, it was on, and I was traveling everywhere. That was something, because, you know, it was still that time where we're talking. I mean, it doesn't sound like a long ago, but it is a long time ago. There wasn't hardly any other things going on in beatboxing. So you get in a cab and there was the taxi driver. You'd have to explain what beatboxing was to a taxi driver. Do you know what I mean? Started seeing my old schoolmates showing up at university gigs that I was doing, and I was like, wow, you know, you guys never used to like this. You know what I mean? Something's working. And then from there, you know, you do all the university things, and then these one-off performances that then you meet XYZ person, and it's, you know, just crazy moments. I was saying about Dirty Sanchez and going on tour with them, going on tour with Goldie Looking Chain. I mean, those were some mad experiences. That was a little later on down the line, but that was fantastic. Some good times there. And just, performing at the Raw Variety performance, doing Blue Peter, early Soccer AM, MTV Video Music Awards a couple of times, performing with Jay-Z, touring with Pharrell, Prince, Snoop Dogg. I mean, it's all online. You can go and check them out. You know, they're there. And do I remember everything? It kind of all is a bit of a merge. You know, I wasn't really a heavy drinker, really. That didn't kick in till I got signed. So there's some things that I really do distinctly remember. But then sometimes people just say, "Oh, do you remember me doing that?" I was like, I'm always thinking forward, really. I don't.
Yeah, and so busy at the time. Like.
Yeah. Everything's just, and you're young as well. You know.
SBS Salvage, South Wales #1 vehicle dismantler and car part specialist. Serving customers throughout the region for the past 10 years. You are sure to receive the very best price for your scrap or salvage vehicles. Just check out our websites, Scrap Car Cardiff, or even sbssalvage.com to get an instant online quote. We buy all cars, vans, etc. Should you need any part for your car or van, then don't hesitate to call us, and our dedicated parts department will definitely be on hand to assist you. We also offer the very best prices for copper, brass, lead, aluminium, and all other types of metals. Just give our friendly staff a call on 01446 421 034, Monday to Friday 9 to 5, or Saturday 9 to 1 to receive a price or come down to our depot in the rear of the unit, 7 Redrup Business Park, Cardiff Road, Barry, CF63 2QW. We also don't just buy cars and sell parts. We also sell part-worn tyres at the very best prices at our depot on Robbins Lane in Barry, CF63 1QT. Call us Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 on 01446 701 515, where we will assist you in any way we possibly can.
The industry didn't know what to do with a beatboxer. Like, I was the first beatboxer to be signed directly to a major.
Yeah. What label was that?
That was Sony.
Sony, yeah. I thought Sony.
Yeah.
Being signed to like Sony, how does like a label like Sony approach like an artist, like a beatbox artist like yourself? How does all that come about?
I mean, it wasn't so much they approached me. What happened was I did this is a long-winded story. I got a gig in Germany, and it was for MTV something. It was a hip-hop DJ turntablist thing, and it was being covered by MTV Germany. And at the end of me presenting, hosting and beatboxing, guy with the camera goes, "Oh, can you do an ID? You know, just a regular beatbox ID saying MTV." And I was like, "Yeah, wicked." So I did that. But when I did it, I think I did Britney Spears' "Slave for You," because at the time that was like the thing. And I used to love doing covers that were slightly ironic. You know, it's far from a hip hop tune, but it kind of had that extending, different audience kind of vibes. The guy that recorded it, he goes, "Oh, that was awesome." And in a very thick German accent said, "I'm seeing Pharrell next week. I'll play this to him." I was like, "Yeah, all right, wicked. Nice." I went away, and in a strange self-fulfilling prophecy, I just assumed he'd seen it. I was like, "Well, he's definitely..." You know, this was before internet and before, you know, we had like Nokias. I didn't stay incommunicado with the guy. In my head, though, I'm like, "Well, he's seen it." And then I heard that NERD were coming to London about 8 months later. I'm like, "Well, I'm going to go see him. I'm going to introduce myself." I was in full belief that he had seen it.
Yeah.
So I rock into this nightclub where, big up Nikki Beatnik, she got us on a guest list because it was like the Pharrell pre-party before NERD, playing at London Astoria. So I went in there, bold as brass, couldn't see Pharrell. I said to Nikki, I was like, "Anyone from NERD camp here?" He goes, "Oh yeah, that's manager, Phil." So I go over to Phil. I'm like, "Hey, KELA." He's kind of looking at me like completely vacant, like as if I own the fucking place. And I'm like, "Oh, you know, Pharrell seen me beatbox on the video. Like, I really want to meet." Like, Phil is the Don. That's my guy. I'm still friends with him now. Really good friends with him. And based out in New York. He's the kind of guy that likes to make dreams happen for people. He likes to be the guy that kind of he just gets off on that. He loves it. He's like, "Sure, man. Why don't you come down to the sound check tomorrow? Come down to sound check." I was like, "Wicked, cool." I'm like buzzing. So I get down to London Astoria, and for good measure, I bought my then soundman Mike Parker, hold tight Mike. We were there super early. Pharrell wasn't there, so Mike was like, "Why don't you just sit back here in the sound booth, and I'll pretend like I'm part of the tech guys, and I'll just rig you mic up. I'll rig the mic up, we'll put it down by the side thing, they won't even notice it." I was like, "Wicked." So I'm sitting there hiding in this booth for at least four hours. I'm just here, just chilling. Nervous.
Yeah.
Thinking, "Well, where is he? Where is he? Surely he's been waiting for this moment to meet KELA, right?" It's like... Then I hear some shouting going on in the background, nothing bad, but I heard commotion. And my sound guy goes, "He was in the backstage, he's leaving now." I'm like, fuck. So I run round to the front of the reception, and I cross paths with Pharrell and 2 or 3 of his security guys, some of the Star Trek guys. I'm like, "Pharrell, KELA." Like, and he goes, "Yo, what's up?" I was like, "Don't go. I need to show you something. Don't go." And he goes, "What is it, man?" So we go downstairs. And I swear to God, we get into the middle of the floor. And the lights guy, in a very Jedi moment, beam of light on me and a beam of light on him. And standing in the middle of this floor. My soundman gives me the mic. And for about 46 seconds, I just hurl just every single cover of Neptune's I could. Like, shelled it. and just stopped. And he just looked at me and it said, fuck all. Walked over and just gave me the biggest hug. And he was like, you've done well there. We'll see you later. And then he went. And then it's just silence after. And then me and my sound man, we just go and have a jerk chicken. We just go and chill. So, was that good? Yeah. But it was, because then what happened is this trail of destruction, this swell really started to pick up. Like, I got calls from Westwood. I got calls from Phil again saying, yo, KELA, Pharrell wants you down at the, Abbey Road Monday. Can you make it? He's got a live session for somebody. Wants you to do the NERD. I'm like, wow. And then he goes on Westwood and he shouts us out like, fuck, like, you guys have got one of the greatest beatboxers out here. I heard it with my own eyes. If you don't know about him, and then Westwood goes, yo, well, are you going to sign him to Star Trek? Are you going to sign him? And he goes, all I will say is this. This is a guy with talent, XYZ, blah, 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 like that. But for him to be asked that question by Westwood, we were already talking to a couple of labels, just throwing demos about.
Yeah.
Like almost like beatbox acoustics that would then get produced to a higher grade. The moment he said that, that's when, because Star Trek was a subsidiary of Sony. So that's when it popped off. So you don't realise what you're doing until,
No, it's here, like, unbelievable. Amazing.
Crazy.
So did, like, the big gigs start coming in then, straight away after that? Yeah.
Yeah, the big gigs. That was one of many fires that was set. My agent at the time, Serena, big up Serena, she had grabbed the coattails of the things we were doing. Yeah. And there was like the big Jay-Z concert, Earl's Court, did that, knocked that out. B-Boy Championships, big up Hooch, knocked them out of the park. Battle of the Year, Germany, knocked out of the park. Ended up going to Canada, then met up with Pharrell at the Sprite Liquid Mix tour in Seattle. He then came over, did Wireless. We jammed, we did that together. We also did, I met up with him again with Justin Timberlake at the Coronet in South London, I think. We did a show there, ended up in the Daily Star, shit like that. And then went to Oxygen Festival with him in Ireland. Yeah, man. It was just one thing after another.
Yeah. And
just collaborations, just association for a good window, 2 or 3 years.
What kind of artists were you collabing with?
Outside of Pharrell, I did a showcase with Prince and Nika Costa. That was banging.
What was Prince like?
Yeah, mad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the things you'd hope for. Yeah.
God level of musician, isn't it?
Yeah. I just remember, I think it was Maceo, the horn player.
Yeah.
He was there. It was thanks to Nika Costa, who's a friend of mine from LA. Big up. She's amazing soul singer. And Prince definitely had an affliction for what she was doing. They became really good friends, and she ended up doing the support slots for his 11 date thing. And she just brought me in because we was homies, we were just friends.
Yeah.
And he had a habit of performing at his after parties as well, where she was performing. So it was just a opportunist moment. And I was just backstage ready to go on with Nika, and then all of a sudden, like the meats on the platter around the backstage table started going. And I was like, oh no, are they clearing out? And he goes, no, Prince is coming. He doesn't have meat. There can't be any meat. And as I'm walking out, because I wanted to check if, what the crowd was saying, as I'm walking out, rose petals are being dropped on the floor. So I'm like, Prince is coming. It's like, come on, let's go.
They're putting rose petals down for him to walk on.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what happened was I did her famous tune, Nika's Not Like a Feather, which is produced by Mark Ronson. She wanted me to do the mid-late beatboxed. And then out of nowhere, Prince came on whilst I was beatboxing, like doing the backing vocals and guitaring, riffing. And for the rest of the song, we were just jamming it out. And there's only one person that can verify that happened, Spider J, because he was in the crowd just like, what the fuck's going on here? No one else, you know, you drop a tree in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
Not many people hear it, but that was certainly like a crazy moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Bonkers.
It's it must be like the biggest test of character as well, because you know it's all good when everything's up. But then obviously things have got to slow down. Nobody can be the biggest of stars forever.
No.
So yeah, what was that kind of like? You know, when you kind of like obviously you were massive at one point and then coming back down to a certain level.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's like with a lot of things, you go up, you got to come back down. Yeah, and it's an organism, it's a scene, it's a world, and hip hop it's a youth culture as well. I mean, it's funny saying 50 years of hip hop. Do you know what I mean? Like businessmen are graph writers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people that are putting money down for investing stuff, they were the breakdancers, or, you know, the tech that now is part of DJ world that hip hop was a part of pioneering. Yeah. Mad. And for me, to be considered and put in the category of somebody that did something at a particular time, if I stopped doing everything now, I'd be happy with that and walk away fine. That's cool. Yeah. When the reality struck, I think it was like 2011, and my partner, Skeletric, who I worked with, he kind of threw in the towel. It felt like the right time, to be fair. And I put out maybe 3 albums, about 4 mixtapes and a couple of 12 inches. You know, it'd been a good run. Toured everywhere. But I remember coming back from Australia, and I was feeling, I guess the term is mental health, but at the time, and there's no bones about it, I was being slightly tainted with the fact that things were kind of slowing down, and I had to figure out a new way of doing things. I knew that was evident. But when he left, I thought, wow, man, like, that's mad. Because we were doing okay. I didn't know we were doing that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it didn't deter me, because I do music. That's it. You know, it's like, there's no plan B. I ain't got a problem with doing regular jobs.
Yeah.
If you have to, and I respect everybody that has their hustle on the ground. It's, you know, it takes all of us to create movement, and earn livings is a priority. But when you've spent 20 years of an apprenticeship, countless 10,000 hours, over tens and thousands of different, you know, you learn everything from lighting to sound to, then you're like, well, what do I do now? You know? So I had a girlfriend at the time, Amy, and we did this project called Them and Us, which was a duo sort of thing, completely different. And it had a dubstep thing to it, and I was kind of more texture sounds, backing vocalist, kind of like it was almost like a Eurythmics kind of dynamic. But the truth is I removed myself off center to what people knew KELA as. Slightly intentional. Maybe there was to go back to your roots. Maybe just to go
and start fresh. Start fresh.
Yeah, and see if I could put my hand to igniting a project that wasn't beatbox, hip hop related. It had all of the hallmarks of things. You know, we're talking of a Skrillex era. Mm-hmm. You know, we're talking of an EDM. We used to go. We actually did all right with the project. We went to Vegas a bunch of times doing these EDM parties, or, you know, and a couple of other things. We toured Asia doing it, you know. But I knew, like, I was going through some shit in my head, just because I would, in between recordings, you know. I'd have a fucking bottle of vodka and a bag of M&Ms, you know what I mean? I'd be sitting there watching Bullseye at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just for the sake of it. It's just, and you pay it no mind. You're like, oh yeah, well, that's rock and roll, mate. That's what, you know, 35 years old. That's what's going on. That's what's going on, mate. And take things for granted, and you just, and then, and bless her, you know, Amy, you know, we parted ways, but she left me, decision of her own. That's got nothing to do with the story really, other than the moment, again, someone leaves you that was intrinsic.
Yeah.
This time I wasn't having it, you know? I'd already set my sights on going back to the gym and restoring myself, you know. I had these antidepressants that I had for about 4 years. And they say don't tap out of them, you know, you've got to slow them and get off them. I just went off, literally threw them in the bin and never looked back. But when she broke up with me, I was like, right, you know, I'm not having this happen again. So it's funny because the podcast came through that. So 2016, I made the idea because I wanted to regroup with my friends. And they'd all literally, you know, there's this them and us thing that I'm doing as a project with her. Like no one even knows. And even to this day, my dear mate, David Ross, who's mentoring me and, you know, manages me in part now, he said, dude, you tapped out. Like no one knew where you went. I thought I was still there.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you, for 5 years, you were gone. But in my head, I was like, well, you got to go and come back. So I started this podcast. And I didn't realise what I was getting into. All I knew was she gone. It's like the culture that I learned so much of becoming the man that I was. I was like, nah, I want to give back. I want to give something to people. I want to do something that kind of, in a way, translates my story as a secondary part, but it's not really of interest. It's actually more about reconnecting with things that I believe are a core value to any artist, and you know, being friends with all these people over the years. So I just started doing it. It was only like after like the first 60 that I realised I was really only doing it to an audience of one. It was her. It was Amy. I was just, yeah, fucking have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's another guess. You know what I mean? I'm just going for it. But what actually happened, and again, thank you to her, is that energy propelled all these different ideas, and through the adversity of like, you know, how am I going to pay the fucking rent? You know, how am I going to survive if people like these are gone?
Yeah.
You figure it out. And it's mad how like the universe opens up. And it's a spiritual bit. Like you set your mind to doing something and it's on.
100%.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what being our ethos here. Say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. By hook or by crook. Yeah. And it opens so many doors.
Yeah.
So I was saying earlier, we've been here 3 years. We haven't taken a penny's wages. Yeah. But the doors it's opened, the people we've met, the places we've been. Yeah. It's everything. It's worth more than fucking money. Yeah. You know, I get like what you're saying about like dropping back into like your artistry. It's like when I got back into graph, you can dress it up, you can romanticize it as much as you want, but I got back into graffiti because I was fucking lonely. Do you know what I mean? And this was me saying back to the world again, fuck you, like, oh this. And then everybody just come round, the boys. But we're like family, we live in each other's pockets, and it's given me everything. So yeah, I know where you're coming from. Like,
man, it's like opens a door. Like you can go away and do something, but something really, you do, don't you? You take it for granted after a while, but like it feels, it's almost like you're back in line, and the gods know you're back in line, right? So more things happen for you. Yeah, just stick to the lane. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I learned. Don't deviate. Stick to the lane. You know what I mean? Maximize on that lane. Yeah.
So let's talk about like the graph podcasts and like. So I think they're amazing. I don't think you get the proper flowers you should for them because of like maybe the grapher's attitude. Yeah. But like I think can you imagine that we would have had this 20 years ago? It would have been fucking everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But now it's like, you know, it does. I don't know. Maybe it surely gets the props it deserves. Like, but you know, have you found it like difficult stepping in to like the graph thing? Like, have you had what's been like the kind of like feedback you've had from it personally? Have you had grief? Have you had like?
Oh yeah, you get your grief, but you know, haters make us famous.
Yeah.
Hey, like everything, if you apply a personality to a brand, or you know, not everyone's going to like everything you do.
Yeah. So why is KELA doing graffiti?
Yeah. Well, they don't know the fault lines. They don't know the you know, solo one and me running around stickering back in 2002. All the Sham, she used to be my roadie, like on tour.
Yeah.
You know, used to go to all these. I used to do a club night in Herbal for 5 years, in Shoreditch, and the graph writers used to come through. I used to see Cozza, I used to see like Madheads used to come through. Used to come through with Sham. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So there's always been an association. That's why a lot of the graffiti writers have come because they've seen me at raves and or been part of, in some capacity, part of the journey. So that's how it starts. But what happens is the wheels spin, and you know the stabilizers are off, and you're really building a momentum. And it's funny because a lot of the younger audiences don't even know, which is where I think people get confused about, well, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the youngsters, the younger crowd, they only know you as KELA the podcaster.
Yeah, well, like I said, like last night, and we got so used to seeing you on the podcast now, and you're doing that, and then to see you up there beatbox, I was like, oh, fuck course, yeah. You just
Sorry about
forget
that.
like how good you are, and
Oh, bless you.
you know,
Yeah,
it's like fucking unbelievable, really.
vibe. It was a vibe last night. But it's not just graph; it's music as well, and I think that's what allows it to extend. Like my audience are like, not only are they vast, like a lot of expats, people in Australia and Canada and America check it. Shouts in Germany. Just and it. I guess for the graph guests that come on, you know, the people that are watching the podcast are also, they're just into the culture. Do you know what I mean? You know, the big taboo of street art and stuff. You know, some of the audience only know of street art on the basis that they're into music or they're into raving, but they like a bit of spray paint.
Yeah.
So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for a guest to come on the podcast, if they're on, then we're teaching people the foundations and who really are the movers and shakers now and before.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like to me, to like just to listen to how like Inch, the recent one with Inch. That's just like
crazy.
Yeah, because we used to see a lot of the TNS Freights and Coleys roll into Wales, and it's like years ago it was like magical, mystical. Who are they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can only imagine. But now, like, you've got like, there's Inch telling you exactly how we roll, like, you know,
right.
and it's just fucking wicked.
Blows my mind, bruv.
Yeah.
I mean, when you came around to the podcast, that was enough for me. I was like, dude, like, because not only is it, and I get completely affected by this because I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of Inch. I'm a fan of these guys, and they come round to the bits, and it's like, wow. Because, you know, Barry's a long way.
Yeah.
Newcastle's a long way. Brighton ain't too far, but, you know, it's still a trip. And I'm so humbled every time people come through, for starters. Never mind what gems we're going to talk about. You know, of all the places you come on this show and we're talking about, it's just, I still get a kick out of it even now. 500 episodes, I still get so strange that.
Well, when you think about it like that, do you think there's been like one individual that's ever met all them different graffiti writers? Like, I've met a load, but I don't think I've met 500.
Well, half of them, I mean, I've done about 220.
Well, have I met 220 writers? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, the connectivity's wild, and more, I still, yeah, that's crazy because I never thought that would be the case.
Yeah.
But even with the music guys, you know, like you say, you don't realize you got 500 acquaintances, friends. You don't realize it.
No.
And then when you start with episode 1, you know, because it always starts with fucking 1.
Yeah.
And you get like 62, 63 views. Oh, I'll do it again. We do it again.
Yeah.
But every time you do it, you still got to have a guest.
Yeah.
Like the research is key.
Yeah. What people don't realise as well is a lot of aftercare.
Yeah.
People just don't come and sit down, tell you their life story and go. You like they're in your life then, do you know what I mean? And then you got another one, then you got another one, you're like, wah.
Yeah. And also the other thing is the real podcast is when the cameras are off.
Yeah.
The conversations after it. And, you know, with, never mind Graph, when it comes to music, it doesn't matter if you're Rag and Bone Man Goldie, it doesn't matter if you're Dynamo, right? It doesn't matter who you are. People that come through the podcast, Aloe Black, Toddler T, you know, Corrupt FM, madness come through the podcast. When the cameras are off, they all have the same troubles, tribulations, industry-related insecurities. They don't know what's happening. Well, they do, but they don't. It's that. And these are the real conversations. I think with each guest I've had on, you know, you cherry pick, like, you get an awareness, you build an awareness and you store that and it makes your vision a lot more clearer, doesn't it?
Yeah. 100, yeah.
Which is the best bit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So what's going on at the moment? What are you up to now? Apart from the podcast or with the old street culture thing?
Yeah, so
how's that evolving? Do you want to talk about that? Or?
Yeah, bruv, like, so KELA Vision is the YouTube platform and it started off with, you know, eccentric KELA related music stuff and vlogs, but then we got the podcast that's moved into God knows how many episodes. And then through last year, I wanted to create a platform that celebrated the sport within art. Light of 50 years of hip hop and breaking going into the Olympic Games this year, I was like, well, let's do just a competitive arm. So, you know, add further relevance. You know, podcasts, we talk about old school stuff and archive stuff. You know, it's more the archivist approach of documenting. But with Street Culture TV and creating a club night, Street Culture HQ, this allows for like the immediacy of what's going on the streets, like whether it be graffiti battles, breakdance competitions, or documenting the monthly club night where we have MapCon with the Chief Rocker. So it becomes like a portal for people to see what's going on in the ground in London and around the UK.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. It's like a zine. It's like a video mag, which is a vibe. And I'm just really grateful. It's like, you know, contrary to what I said at the start about, you know, not fitting the model of narrative, I feel like in 2024, and I can only speak for KELA and KELA Vision, the doors are open. The doors are open and bigger conversations are being had. But that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the guests. Like, the guests to me are everything.
Yeah.
Like I've done it pirate style in my own space, in my own home, in my own studio for 7 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't, all that matters to me is that it's historically correct and everything we're doing is for the greater good of the future. Future nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Prosperity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's everything. And until my last breath, that is exactly what I'm going to do. You know?
It's been wicked, like, getting to know you through the podcast as well, because obviously KELA, the beatboxing, but like you as like a personality then, like I think that's what's come out of it the most, because like last night, like halfway like through your sets, you're dropping back and having a little conversation, and then it's like, yeah, beatboxer, right, the podcaster,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that it's added that kind of element
Love that.
to KELA, like.
I love that. That makes me happy. That's
Yeah.
good that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because I'm not shy of doing performances. Like, brand is brand. Like, and it's good to keep that flame going of beatboxing. KELA as a beatboxer isn't going anywhere. Kidding? But with all the things that are going on, you just don't have all the time you want to do. And also, and I interview amazing artists, like, and it's nice to sit back and hear their perspectives. In a self-serving world of entertainment, for me at the moment, the best bit is kind of not always being readily available to have to go and do a gig, but to be the conduit and let people tell their stories and be a part of a bigger journey. You know?
Yeah,
bigger
journey.
You know what I'm saying? It's good shit.
Yeah, 100%. So, brother,
My brother.
thank you so
Thank
much
you for having me.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, we're out here.
Yeah, we're out here.
Yeah.
And you know you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
So
Big up Pulse.
Yeah, big up
ILC.
P. Get well soon, P.
Big up Pulse. Big
Thank
up
you.
Harry Shotter. Big up DJ Prime Cuts.
Yeah, man.
Big up all the crew. Big up Arts Arcade. Piccadilly. Big shout out to Ashley. Big shout out to Jim. All the television crew. Street Culture HQ, Sound System, Menace, Vixie, Mills. All the people that, you know, all some of the parts, man. It's all the crew. It's not just me. It's all of them. Big it up.
Thanks for coming, bro.
Oh, and hold tight, David Ross.
Awesome, brother.
Nice. Peace.